Family, what's going on? Welcome to another episode of Financial Freedom. I am your host and accompaniment on this journey, Derek Brown. Yo, we have a great episode for you today. But before we get into that, I want to make sure that we're able to say thank you. Started back in March 2020, and you guys have been with us. And we've expanded from one episode and one show with over 45 million views from across the world to over 35 different shows spanning throughout the course of the day to inspire and inform. So thank you so much for that. If you can, please be so kind. Follow us on social media at the handle at The Hope TV. That's all caps, one word, at The Hope TV. Today, we have a great individual who's going to be joining us, my sister and a personal friend of mine, Christina Wilson. She's a devoted Christian mother, entrepreneur. She has 14 years in finance. She's the current CFO for the House of Hope Atlanta. She has her bachelor's in finance from Cleveland State University. She also has a master's in accounting from Georgia State University. She's a very wise woman. She's also with us online. Her Instagram page is I'm Fit for a Purpose. At I'm Fit for a Purpose. She does fitness and she is good at what she does. Please welcome Christina Wilson.
Hello.
Thank you for coming. I know time is precious, so I appreciate you being here.
Thank you so much for having me. I'm excited about today's episode, what we have in store.
Yo, I really appreciate that. Okay, so let's hop right in. You do a couple different things. You've been a busy woman. So let us know what you're doing. We know you're CFO for the House of Hope Atlanta. Other than that, I know you have another business as well. Tell us a little bit about that.
Yes, so I own my own dance and fitness studio in Morrow, Georgia. It's called Fit for a Purpose.
Mm.
I used to teach fitness classes at LA Fitness, and once I saw what I was building there and what I was doing, I just figured that I could do this on my own. And I saw how much it was helping the women that were coming, how they were getting fit, not only physically, but even mentally, it was helping them. And then I got more onto the spiritual side with them because they started, just telling me about what they were going through and how coming to dance and work out was helping them. So it kind of started helping them overall. And that's something
Right.
that I'm really passionate about. So I was just like, well, let me see how my own studio will work. And I opened one 3 years ago, and it's actually going very well. I'm very proud of what we're doing.
So where's your studio located?
It is located in Morrow, Georgia. So the address is 6329 Jonesboro Road. Again, it's in Morrow, Georgia, right off of 75, I 75, right across the street from Morrow City Hall in a shopping
Oh,
plaza.
okay.
Yeah.
So you started doing this. Was this on a whim, or was this really something that you really felt inspired to do? Was it something that you just loved? I've heard a lot of people say to me, "Make it so that you have a life you don't have to escape from."
Right. Um, Actually, it's so funny because I just started taking Zumba as a form to lose weight because I was at my heaviest 250. So I just started taking Zumba just to lose weight. And then as I was taking it, I'm like, I really like to dance, but I had no rhythm. That's the thing.
Oh, now
And
rhythm. That's
so right. And so as I continued taking the classes, I was like, I wonder if I can teach this. And so I went and did the Zumba certification. And then I applied to LA Fitness like the next week after I finished. And they
right.
hired me. And I was just like, oh, okay. And so once I, it was really funny. And so, like, once I started teaching for like 2 years at LA Fitness, I
Right.
kind of didn't say anything to anybody. I was saving my money at the time because I knew when you and I got licensed, the
Hmm.
lady spoke over me and she's like, "Have you ever seen yourself owning a business?" And I was like, "No," because I never thought about it. And she
Right.
literally spoke that over me back
Wow.
then. it was like 2 years later, my next thing I know, I'm opening a whole building, and
Mm.
I never even thought about having my own business ever in life.
So you
So
went from,
it's a,
just, just so I'm clear, you went from taking classes to lose weight, getting certified in the class, being a teacher at LA Fitness, and then having your own building,
right.
which sounds bigger than you ever expected to do in the first place.
It definitely is. Like I said, I saw it as something part time that I do on the side
Mm-hmm.
just because, and it was helping
Right.
me stay fit. So I'm like, okay, but yeah, it's crazy. It just kind of everything kind of fell in place. God just aligned everything literally. I didn't have to do. Well, I had to do the work, of course, but I didn't have to
Right.
force anything. Everything just fell right into place.
So, in looking at feeling like God led you to do these things and moving forward, what was it like for you? What was your prayer life like? Because part of the focus of this episode is to talk about finances God's way, right? So, not only do you work in the church as well as of course, the church being a place of worship and reverence and those things, but also you have a business, being a staunch Christian, being a mother, being a wife, being your own person, just as Christina Wilson, and your own dreams and passions. What was it like for you as far as your prayer life, as far as looking at your children leaving a legacy when it comes to this topic of the show is financial freedom? So I guess I'm just asking, how did your spiritual life intersect with your prayer life when it came to launching this launching out on this kind of faith, which it is. It went from part-time losing weight to full-time. This is part of my profession now.
Yeah, literally everything I did, I prayed first. Everything that I do, I talk to God first because, like Pastor says, we can always have good ideas, but they're not always God inspired ideas. So I don't want anything to just come from me. I want everything that I'm doing to be aligned with my purpose, to be aligned with
Right.
my destiny, to be aligned with where God wants me to be, not where I want myself to be. So literally, like I said, everything God put everything in place for me. Like I had a realtor who was looking for buildings for us, and none of the buildings that he presented were the buildings. So I just happened to drive by this place on Morrow, and it looked like a larger
Oh, wow.
space. So I went and looked in the window, and
Mhm.
I called the number myself, and I set the whole thing up. Literally, the broker that I had, he just got
Yeah.
his portion just because I literally did all of that portion of it. But we
Oh,
walked the
wow.
space, and I was just like, oh, this is perfect. And so I prayed about it. I'm like, Lord,
Right.
this space that they're giving us is a larger amount of space for the same amount of money that other people are
Oh,
asking for.
oh, I love that.
So
That's wonderful.
next thing I knew, bam, here's the lease. And it was not only was it the lease, but it was negotiated in there, things that we needed. So it wasn't just like, no, you have to take it as is and all this. It was just, the person was willing to work with us. And like I said,
Mhm.
it literally, because I didn't know anything about opening a business. You know what I mean? Like nothing that I've done has been because I know how to do it because I've never owned a business. I can run a
Look,
business
hold on a
financially.
second. Hold on one second. I go back and repeat that one good time because you got a lot of people, including myself, who have had ideas, and I'm just like, but I don't know how to do this. I don't know what I'm doing. I don't. And I've heard the phrase before, yo, if you love something, be willing to do it badly first, but just go do it. You are a walking, talking example of that in the sense that it's like, hey, I didn't know, I just went and I did it. That's incredible because we hear that a lot, but we don't always see the beginnings of it. So why though? Like, so here's my question, right? Because this is my thing. If I'm scared and I'm nervous, which I normally am when it comes to huge things, especially outside of what I thought I was going to be doing in the first place, like you, what encouraged you to stay in that space? Because you could have walked in there and been like, "Oh, this is big. I don't know what they're gonna do. I don't know how it's gonna work." What encouraged you to stay in that space to keep pursuing, knowing that, like you said, this is a first for you? You didn't know what you were getting into. Essentially, you could have backed out, listened to your anxiety, your fear. Why stay?
Yeah, I mean, it's kind of like, Abraham. God tells him, take everything and leave and start over. And so for me, I have a motto, that I got from Joyce Meyer where she says, do it afraid. And I'm like, I'm going to do it afraid. If God is telling me to pick up my stuff and go to this business because there's people connected here that you need, your purpose aligns with them, what you have is what they need in their life, then
Got you.
either I'm going to listen to him and go do it and stay in my purpose and in where he wants me to be, or I'm not
Right.
going to listen to him, and who knows what's going to happen.
Right.
We all have had times where we didn't listen to God and we like, man, I should have listened. And I don't want to experience that anymore. I've done that way too many times in my life. So, like I said, it's kind of just a do it afraid thing.
Hey Bobo, do trees tell each other stories?
I'm sorry. I'm afraid I don't know that.
Hey, why don't we go find out? Listen.
Do clouds take naps?
I couldn't tell you.
Dad, do stars visit their friends?
Look!
The decisions that you make have to make sense toward the end goal. You have to be okay talking about yourself, selling yourself, being your brand, to expose what the gift is that God has put in you so that other people know about it. I knew that it was something that I wanted to offer to people who were also dreaming or trying to be entrepreneurs and things of that sort, who just didn't know how to get started.
So let me ask, because you're operating in two different modes, because you have your CFO side over here, right, and you're maintaining that, and then you have your fitness business over here, and you're maintaining that. Let me ask you this: what's the key skill that you use daily to kind of keep both of these going? Because it doesn't seem like either one of them is going to be stopping anytime soon.
Right. So a lot of prayer, of course, because
Right.
it's a lot. People ask me all the time, how are you doing everything that you're doing? Because I do work at the House of
Right.
Hope Atlanta full time. So I work
Right.
9 to 5 here. I have 2 children. And then after
Right.
I leave here, and of course my kids are virtual learning, so my kids are with
Right.
me while I'm working. And then I leave here, I go to the studio, open it up, do the classes there. Of course, I have instructors, but I'm there every single day that we have classes. Then I have to clean up after because we are in COVID and we want to keep people safe. So that involves staying after to clean the studio,
Right.
making sure I go home so that my kids can have dinner to eat, putting them in the bed. It's a
Right.
nonstop all the
Right. You
time.
move it all day long.
Right. So the main thing that I do is pray. And then the second thing that I do is I make sure that I'm well prepared each day. Like I make sure that I do things like meal prep so I don't have to stop and spend a lot of time cooking. That's something I do. That people don't think about that helps their life, but it does because I manage my time very well. God gives us, the things to manage our treasure, our time, our tempo, all of those. So I manage my time very well with
Okay.
that. Also, another thing that I do is I keep the two very organized. So I have a planner for what I need to do for work. It lists every single thing that I have to get accomplished at work. And then I have a planner for the studio so that I know everything that I have to accomplish there. Because if either one goes lacking, I'm in trouble, right? If my business goes lacking, I don't get the money from there. Now, if my job goes lacking, I'm going to have to answer to my boss. So,
Right.
it's just about keeping everything organized and making sure that I stay on top of it. I can't slack in really any area.
So time management is what you said, right?
Mm-hmm.
Planning.
Mhm.
and both of those lead to organization.
Right.
Got you, got you.
Those
Because
are
it
those
just
are my biggest things. Other people may have, other ways that they operate, but that's what's helped me. Yeah.
well, you the woman of the hour, so it's about you right now. So, but no, those are actually just good. Time management, planning, and that leads to organization. It also sounds like you have a good routine you stick with daily. Is that true?
Yes, yes. I definitely have a routine every single day. Like my routine really doesn't break, if you will, because if something, well, of course, I'm open to shifting if need be, but if
Right.
something comes in, it's going to alter everything that I have going on because everything is on its own schedule. But like I said, if God interrupts, then that's him interrupting. But if it's things that I can control, I try to put those on a schedule as well.
Mm, okay. Okay. So it sounds like you're doing a lot of leadership in a lot of large and small ways that honestly for a lot of especially young women like yourself may get looked over. Like you're leading in the household, you're leading with the kids, you're leading at work, you're leading at your job, you're leading yourself, which sounds critical in what you're doing. Like you said, if one slacks, the other one's going to make slack. If they both slack, then you got a problem all the way around. So that's a lot of traits that I think people may not see, but it's definitely leadership skills there that you're exercising in a major way. Let me ask you this. When it comes to your top priorities at work, do you find, let me re ask that question. When it comes to the principles you exercise at work and at home and at your business, are they pretty much the same? Are those, because it sounds like you're exercising a lot of biblical principles here too. Are there any in particular that you use to kind of keep you centered when you do feel yourself kind of floating off key?
Um, my biblical center as far as work and my business go would probably be um let me see. It's really hard because I mean, I use a lot of the Bible all the time, as you know. That's what ministers do. We just our life is based off the Bible. But you're
Right.
asking me to pick like one verse. So,
It does. It doesn't have to be one verse. It can just be
okay.
something that is biblically inspired. Like there are phrases for me that I know
Mhm.
encapsulate verses, but they're not verses, right?
Right.
Like there's a verse that says, Paul says, do unto everything as if you do it unto Christ. Put forth your best effort, make sure. But for me, that just basically says, be intentional, be well planned, do it on purpose, and do it well. So I may never quote the verse, but the phrase or whatnot kind of keeps it in my brain around somewhere. Are there any principles in general that you use to kind of keep you centered if you feel like you're drifting off?
Yeah, I guess the principle of sowing and reaping would be my biggest one because that's the one that as I keep thinking about it even now, that's what
Mm,
comes to mind because that's what I'm doing every day is
yeah.
I'm planting seeds and I'm just hoping that it leads to a harvest. So even if no matter what the seed is that I plant, I try to remember that you don't always reap where you
Mm,
sow, but you
right.
will reap what you sow. So it's like even if I plant the seed in this person, they might not be the one to return that back to me, but I might look over here and God's like, nope, here's your harvest right here of what you've sown in that person. So it's like doing that consistently and just remembering not to give up, not to grow weary in my well doing, because in the
Mhm.
time that I'm supposed to get it, God's going to give me what He has for me for doing what He's called me to do. So that would be like my overall principle that I stick to and I try to stick to because it does get hard when you're
Right.
going every single day to just
Right.
stay consistent because consistency is the key. Anything you
Right.
do, it has to be consistent. So staying
Okay.
consistent is hard when you don't see the benefits of it in the actual flesh, but you have to
Mhm.
see it spiritually. You have to literally walk by faith to see some of the things that you do in the business world.
Got you. So is it Ephesians that says basically uh, everything will have its time? It's about making sure that when the opportunity comes, you're ready to go. That opportunity meets preparation, that equals destiny. So I think you're speaking a lot of a good truth right there. Since you've begun this journey, we talked about the idea of doing it scared, right? Doing it without knowing what's happening. Now, if you had to look back and talk to your younger self that was getting ready to do it scared, what would you have told yourself about the business, about God, about whatever? What would you have told? What would you have shared with yourself?
Right. Well, I'm still young, number one.
I'm sorry, I didn't mean your younger self. I mean your previous self,
But yeah,
your beginning self.
right, right. But yeah, no, I would definitely, I think that a lot of principles are not taught to our children. Like, I am teaching my children a lot of things that I feel like, period, we are not learning, maybe especially in the African American community. I would like to even venture to say that because even when we go to college, what's the first thing that they give you? A credit card application, and you're new to college, you're away from your parents. All you see is, oh, $1,000, and some people it's like, I don't have to pay that back. No, you do, but that's not something they're going to tell you, and they're not going to tell you, oh, and it's at this interest rate, because some of those people don't even know what an interest rate is added on top of a credit card. So going into college, you get that, you get the credit card, you buy all the new J's or whatever is out. So you max out that $1,000, and now you stuck paying it back without a job. So now that goes on your credit report, and you end
Right.
up with bad credit. So it's like things like that. Even the principle of saving money. Like, most of us who went to school had student loans. Why? Because our parents probably couldn't save or didn't know about saving or whatever the case was. But even now, it's teaching people. Like, I go around, do workshops on budgeting. I have a whole budget worksheet that I give to people in those workshops just to tell them how to manage their money, because that's something that a lot of people steer away from. Or some people think that, oh no, I'm mentally managing it. But no, you need to see it on paper, because that 57 cents that you spent at the gas station on gum, that counts.
It
57
I,
cents. Right. I'm like, 57 cents every single day adds up. Or like
mm,
$10 every week at Starbucks, even if you go once a week, that adds up. So it's, just seeing stuff like that. Are you budgeting your money? How are you spending your money? Are you saving? Are you putting into a retirement plan? Are you planning on paying your bills off before the maturity date? Or are you just trying to let them put all that interest on there and you pay it off at the last minute? Because all you're doing is helping these companies grow by giving them the money and interest. So it's a lot of
right.
stuff that people don't know, that, and I'm saying for myself as well, this is the things I would have taught myself, because it's just like, depending on what generation raised you. Like, my grandparents raised me, so this is not stuff that they were thinking to teach me. They want me to go to college, which I
Yeah.
did, graduate, but I'm like, okay, I graduated with
hmm
student loans, like,
Quick.
so I'm like, what then? So now,
College.
luckily, right. Luckily, I know how to speed the process up of getting those paid now that I have a plan and all of that. But it's
Right.
like, that could have been eliminated. You know what I mean? And for people like me who have 3 college degrees, and I'm just like, ain't nobody tell me nothing about these loans until I got them,
Right.
it gets hard.
A lot of times it's easy to attach your identity to something you do or somewhere you work because you don't like who you are.
In regards to getting to know who you are, one piece that people have to really be ready to is look at themselves honestly. A lot of times we want to sell ourselves an idea of ourselves rather than who we really are.
Being prepared is a part of who you are, but it's especially important in the case of a disaster. Be informed about possible emergencies in your area. Make a plan that covers where you'll go in an emergency. Build a kit with the things you need to survive. There's no one more capable of planning for your situation than you. Start your plan today. Go to ready.gov/myplan.
I work in the #1 cable news network in the #1 market in the nation, and I'm the only full-time African American woman in my newsroom. Being inspired is really saying that at the end of the day, no matter what's happening in my world or around me, it's bigger than me.
I guess now they've changed the dynamic where you have to do entry and exit counseling to be able to get the loan, so that you have to know what's going on. But I don't know too many people who read pages and pages of the exit counseling paperwork. But it's a lot going on. So it's crazy though, because a lot of what you're saying is discussing the idea that you know, whether you're in high school, middle school, college, no one's really teaching you financial truths. Unless you're somebody like yourself who has an accounting degree, there's a lot of stuff we just don't know. And I see that when it comes down to it, it becomes something that is very ingrained in us. Like you said, being able to teach your kids about finances so that when they get older, they can carry those things with them. So if they do launch a business, or they do launch a Zumba, or they are motivational speakers, or preachers, or so on and so forth, they have this knowledge base already. And I think it's very critical what you're doing, being able to teach your children financial principles so that when they grow up, they have a better chance than we do. I know for me, I wasn't particularly taught finances in any regard. Church or at school or at home is something that I kind of had to grow and learn so fast. This show actually has forced me to learn a lot over the past, 7-8 months. So it's been great. Let me ask you this: since we're talking about generating wealth, since we're talking about generating talking about those principles we would have liked to teach our kids, if you had to boil down maybe like 3 principles, 2 or 3 principles that you really live by when it comes to money, managing work, business, home, what would you say those are?
Well, for me personally, I budget. So I have a budget that I live by and that I try to stick to as best as I can, and then I save my money.
Okay.
So having a budget and having a savings, because anything can happen to you. Like if you have a car, if you own, lease, whatever, a car, and the car goes out, you have to pay for the repairs. They're not going to give you that for free. If you own a house, something breaks in your house, you have to pay for that. So having enough money in the savings account to help you pay for those things is very critical, especially if you have kids. It's not just you.
Right.
Because kids need to take care of themselves. So for me, it's like I have to have a certain amount in my savings account. So for me, that amount might be different for someone starting off. I know Dave Ramsey talks about $1,000 in your savings account, just because 1,000 is a safe number. For me, that number is a little higher because, like I said, I just purchased the house and all that, so I want to make sure that my kids are okay.
Right.
Those are 2 principles, but the third one would be making sure you pay your debt off, like become debt free. So the only debt that I have is my student loans in my house, and I just got a
Right.
new car. So those 3 things. But as far as like the credit cards and all that, those are paid off. My plan is to pay my house off in the next 15 years because I don't want a 30-year mortgage. It's just too much. But when you don't have credit cards and all that slowing you down, you can take those payments that you would have made on that and put it towards your house payment, or put it towards your car payment to pay that off quicker, or put it towards your student loans. So, those are things that kind of catch us up when they offer them to us, because I know a lot of people that have thousands of dollars in credit card debt that, that's just taking money out of your household when you could be using that somewhere else.
I think they said the average credit card debt was like 6,500 or something like that. I don't remember what the exact number was. And I think I remember them saying that the average HBCU student or Black student has about $27,000 to $35,000 of student debt when they come out of college.
Wow.
So it's not an abnormal situation. It's not an abnormal situation at all for us to have to deal with student loans, car payments, various debts. Credit card debt seems to be the most common. So I think you're handling a lot. You're doing it very well. Um, so with that being said, when you began to formulate this plan towards financial freedom, shameless plug, um, was it something that you did on your own, or was it something that you did with the help of a financial advisor? Did you sit down with some people, with your family, with whoever, or was it just Christina saying, "Okay, this is where I want to be. I'm gonna go pray, talk to God about it, and then I'm just gonna go do it"?
It was just me and God. I mean, some people do need a financial advisor. I am pretty disciplined myself. Like, once I make my mind up about something, as you
You're an
can see with
accountant.
the studio,
Sorry.
that's what it's going to be. So I'm
Duh.
just like, okay, I need to get my life together because I was tired of paying all of my money out to, like, when I looked at what I was doing financially, most of my money was going out to other companies and it wasn't my utilities. So I'm just like, what is going on? So,
Right.
for me personally, that was a problem because there's things that my kids were going to need as they were getting older. I'm like, they're going to need certain things. I can't be giving, American Express, whoever it is, all of this money.
Right.
So for me, it was just the choice of seeing where I was and where I want to be and making a decision to do what I need to do to get there. So me personally, I followed Dave Ramsey's steps, and that helped me pay off my credit card bills faster. That's what's making me bring my student loans down. Like, for me personally, that's what I do. Other people, like I said, they might need a financial advisor, or his method might not work for them, so they might have to find something that does.
How much did patience play a role in wealth creation for you?
It definitely plays a role because you're no matter how much you try, you can only pay off as much money as you have, right? So you can owe 5,000, but if you only have $50 a month to put towards it, that's all you can
Right.
put towards it. So patience is definitely the key in trying to eliminate debt and save,
Mm,
because you can only
mm,
save and eliminate as much money as you have. So you kind of have a cap there, even though the point is to not have a cap on your finances. If you
right.
do have a job that pays you a salary or a business that pays you a certain amount, you have a cap automatically because your company's only bringing in so much, or you're only getting paid so much. So you
Right.
have to know what it is you can expense out and give yourself time to get there. Like, map it out. Say, okay, by next April, this will be paid off, and then work
Mm,
towards that. And as you're paying it off, don't feel bad about rewarding yourself. And that don't mean going out and buying a Rolex. That means a little reward for yourself. That's something. Maybe you want to take maybe you want to take yourself out to dinner or something. So, okay, if I get to this amount in savings, I will pull this much from wherever you have. Maybe you have extra in your savings account, and I'll take myself out to a restaurant. Something like that. But it does require patience, and it does require discipline. Because while you're
mm.
paying off stuff, while you're trying to save, you can't keep buying expensive, extravagant things that you really can't afford.
Do
And by can't
Father-
afford, right.
Sorry, go ahead.
And by can't afford, I'm not talking about you can't give them the card to pay for it. Can you pay for it in cash and not feel it anywhere else? Like, if I go to the Louis Vuitton store, can I give them $250 to $500 and not feel it anywhere else in my finances? Like, that's money
Right.
I can just give them. So if you can't
Right.
really afford it, we really shouldn't be doing it. And that's what I tell myself. I'm not on here saying stuff that I don't tell my own self, because I might see a cute necklace or ring, but I'm like, Christina, if you can't afford that, then you need to keep walking.
So there is a thing. So discretionary income, that you just spend at your discretion, is important in this journey. You should have income that you could just spend on yourself and just frivolously if you want to?
Well, I'm saying you shouldn't have that if you are trying to save and get out of debt.
Okay.
Now,
Okay.
you should be able to have like a certain amount set aside every month to do things. Like if you know you like to go out to eat and you can't live without going out to eat, then you might want to set aside $50 to $100 a month to go out to eat, because that's just part of your life that you're not willing to live without. Now, if you took that $50 to $100 and put it towards debt, it would eliminate it faster. But if you're not willing to do that because you want to go out to eat, that again comes with the whole patience thing. It's like it's just going to take you longer to get, to where you're trying to go.
Got you. Got you. Ms. Wilson, thank you so much for being with us, and thank you for taking the time to come talk to us. I know time is precious again, and you could have been many places doing many things from the sounds of it, other than being with me on this show. So thank you for that, and thank you for your time. Where can we find you online, and where can we come look at your business again and take some classes?
Okay. The pleasure was all mine. I just want to say that. And I would like to say that I'm thanking you and Hope TV for having me on. And there's no other place that I would have rather been right now than on the Financial Freedom Show. So thank you so much. I'm on social media. My Instagram is I am fit for a purpose. I have the Dance and Fitness Studio in Morrow, Georgia. It's at 6329 Jonesboro Road. And the Instagram for that is just Fit for a Purpose. Our website is www.fitforapurposellc.com. So taking a class is real easy. Just go on there and come on in and see us. That's it.
Gotcha. Wonderful. Thank you for being here again. Ladies and gentlemen, thank you for tuning in tonight. This has been Christina Wilson. She's been sharing some principles about how she's been able to do everything she's doing, from being a mom, from being a wife, to being an entrepreneur, to being an employee, a CFO. She's been doing some big things. So I hope you got something from it. As always, thank you for joining us on our journey towards financial freedom. I have been your host, Derek Brown, and be safe out there.